Hello, 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 and welcome to Movement in Science. My name is Kendra Pena-Collazo, and today we have a very special guest. Today we are talking to Miss Lynn Tucker. I am so excited to have her on the show today. I've known her for a little bit, and we hit it off like this. So brilliant. I love tapping into her brain. So she has a very long and extensive experience and history in the movement arena. She started out with playing Division I tennis, which is pretty awesome. She worked as a physical therapy assistant where she focused on functional training, which is so important. Basically, it's the foundation of what we talk about here in Movement in Science. And she's also a clinical instructor for Pacific Lutheran University, which is here in Washington State. So thank you, Lynn, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come talk to us today. I'm super excited for what it is that we're going to talk about.
Let's roll. I'm excited as well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This age of Zoom is pretty cool.
So what are we going to go over today?
Is this the actual interview part now?
It was.
It was. We were going to talk about physical activity guidelines for Americans and how to make them a little bit less intimidating, a little bit more motivating. Okay. So I can just imagine that when somebody who is new to exercise, hasn't maybe exercised in a long time, they look at these physical activity guidelines and the first thought is, I'm never going to be able to do that. Why even try? So what I've done, and I'll show you here, is created a kind of a new document that I hope is a little bit less intimidating to kind of show what the physical activity guidelines look like for cardio, aerobic exercise, resistance training, and also flexibility. Okay. And this is just a really easy to read format. And I like this because it's a breakdown. You can put it on the fridge or maybe in a file, and you can use this as a goal setting tool to get you where you want to go. But we need to meet our clients or our students where they are now. And that's where I think there's a gap in the industry is we need to fill in that gap. We can't expect them to make these leaps and bounds quickly because it's just not safe. It's not healthy. It's not sustainable. So I put together another chart. As you can see, I like my little emojis and my little smiley faces. And I decided that at least for my students, I want to meet them where they are and encourage them just to do the best that they can in moving their way across this page over time. And we talk about SMART goals, and they need to be realistic and achievable. I am not personally the one that's going to be able to decide that for a client necessarily, especially in a student in a classroom setting where you might have 30 plus students. They need to do some reflection on how much time am I willing to spend on my fitness right now? What is realistic? What access do I have? What resources do I have? Have I ever done this before or not? How do I learn the basics? And so what I really try to hit hard is that if you're not doing any cardio right now, if you add 1 day a week for 30 minutes, is that progress?
Absolutely.
What do you think? Is it progress?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And although that might still be a ways away from the recommendations, we're striving for those recommendations. It's a target to hit at some point in your future. So I'm going to go back to that again, just to give you another example. So I call this sheet Goal Setting Part 1. And what I ask students and clients to do is to take a look at each category and circle where they are now. If you're not really doing specific cardio exercise or aerobic exercise and your frequency right now is 0, that's just the honest truth. And it's a it sets the baseline. Okay. This is really exciting for me to have people who are new because they have so much to gain. And it's so exciting because the gains happen relatively quickly when it's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So they go through this sheet and they circle where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, body image. I talk a lot about your self-talk, your body image. What do you think of this vessel that you're given to guide you to your dreams, to physically get you to your dreams? And so if you're living in a world of poor self-image and maybe some negative self-talk, it's going to be challenging really to make gains in all areas of health and fitness with that self-talk. So it may be starting with some exercises to do at home, waking up each and every day and saying, thank you, body, for allowing me to do all the amazing things that you allow me to do. And then that can be the catalyst once your brain starts thinking more positively and appreciating, having that gratitude for what it can do. It opens up the door of, oh, now I'm willing to do more. Now I'm willing to push myself a little bit more. So.
I have a question for you. Looking at your chart, I see with core, it says, remind yourself to engage the core. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm curious about the habit is forming. If you can expand on that and tell me what exactly that means.
So at first, when you're teaching somebody, especially if they've had any low back pain, if you're really teaching them about the core and how to stabilize the core and a little bit about the positioning of the pelvis, then as they go into doing their core exercises, it takes a lot of concentration to make sure that everything is aligned, the spine is in neutral, you're pulling in that belly button, the spine, if you're laying down, for example, is, I use the cue that there's a grape underneath, and press down on the grape and make it whine. Get it? Press on the grape and make it whine. Okay. So
I'm
anyway,
going to put a rim
that's how
shot in the editing.
Boom, boom. So that is just a cue that you can use to make sure that your low back isn't popping up into that position that is not ideal, and your muscles are engaged and your spine is in neutral. And so this takes a lot of thought.
Yeah.
You can actually, it's almost like I can see the little bubble over somebody's head reminding themselves of these cues. Eventually, though, that becomes habit. And so, for example, in that final stage where you kind of have that aha, I no longer have to think about it. And so things like putting on a heavy backpack. Now, instead of just slinging the backpack on and having poor posture, you put that heavy backpack on and immediately those shoulders come back, muscles engage to stabilize, and posture is really good. Head position is in neutral, and now you're utilizing the benefits of those exercises that you've been doing to make your everyday life more functional and safer. And in fact, people look better, they feel better. If you've ever heard of the superhero pose, that's a real thing. When people are standing tall and their shoulders are back, that releases some endorphins in your body that say, okay, let's go, let's get after this. So that's what I mean by going through the process of reminding, and then eventually it just becomes automatic. And that is such a sweet spot to be in.
I can tell you the other day, after not going to the gym for a very long time and getting my hair done, going to the gym, and then going into Home Depot, I don't know what it was about the combination of those three things, but I felt like a superhero. I was like, I'm gonna build a house today. I was standing tall, it felt good. So yeah, I feel that superhero. So we talked about self-talk, we addressed core. Is there anything else on this list that you want to expand upon?
So some other things that are really important to factor in, like things like physical activity, stress management, sleep. All of these things on this page are interconnected. If you take one thing out of the equation, you have a missing link now. And So sleep, that's the time in which your body is going to reap the benefits of the physical activity. So taking
Mhm.
the stairs, parking further away, carrying in your groceries, all of those physical activities you do, and the exercise. The busier you are, the harder you're working your body throughout the day, that recovery is going to take place while you're asleep. And so if you're finding that I've never really thought about that connection, that's where this chart will help you start kind of identifying, reflecting, wow, I'm really tired today. Oh, I had some really hard workouts earlier in the week, and I didn't get enough sleep to recover. You can also take a look at stress management and how
Mhm.
that can impact your how you're thinking about things. It can affect your body image, your motivation to stick with your plan, with your workout plan. It can lead to making more sedentary decisions as opposed to more active decisions. So this chart is designed to help you move your way, as I said before, gradually across the page, and not every column is going to get there at the same time, but at least you have a target to hit, and you can recognize, I am here and I'm not going to get here immediately. It's a gradual process, and that's the way it's designed to be.
I think it's really great to know that not everywhere is going to be in the same column. It's going to bounce around. And I think for me personally, it's also good to understand that even if you are making that transition to the right column, sometimes you will revert backwards, and that's just a part of the process as well. Because I know from my own personal experience, with having kids, sometimes you're on it and you're in that high quality of life and you're hitting all of the marks and everything is great, and then you have a kid and you're just like, what's sleep? I don't know. And then that kind of goes back, and then you have to start again, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't know if you find people that you coach or your clients or students have this idea that, one, like you said in the beginning, it's all or nothing, right? It's like, well, I either need to be high quality of life and I need to hit all of these marks, or I'm not going to do anything at all. And the other piece of that is that you're always moving forward. I think we need to be mindful that in life, sometimes there are setbacks, and just honoring that and doing the best that you can within that frame.
Exactly. You hit it on the head. Things when you're going to be a little bit more sleep deprived, have a child, going back to school, getting a new job, things like that. That's when you really have to get into that gentle mode. You have to be gentle with your body and say, okay, yeah, I still want to be physically active, but maybe I do something like a leisurely bike ride instead of go and do a super high intensity, long duration workout.
Mhm.
Or maybe if you do like the high intensity, I have a lot of friends who like to do kickboxing,
Mhm.
but if you're not sleeping well, maybe that 60-minute kickboxing class is not the best bet. But if you wanted to do a 10 to 15 minute version of that at home, and get those endorphins going and just get that rush, but respect the fact that I only have X amount of fuel and sleep under my belt. Those are the things you have to factor in. So yes, can I still do kickboxing? Sure. Just change the time. Maybe go a little bit more gentle. Hard to do with kickboxing, but just make it a little bit shorter, and maybe add 2 or 3 days in between your sessions when you know that you're not going to get enough sleep. You're not maybe going to be prioritizing eating quite right, things like that.
Lynn, I feel like you are talking to me personally right now, because this is exactly what I personally battle with as someone who is in this industry and been in this industry for a few years. Um, I have to mentally battle the all or nothing, and with having, new baby right now in this pandemic that we're in, having to adjust to this lifestyle. But in my head, I'm like, well, this is the target. This is what I have to hit. And just literally with kickboxing itself in my head, I'm like, oh, an hour of kickboxing, that sounds way too daunting. And then I won't do anything at all. So taking that time to say, like, I'm just going to do 10, 15 minutes, or I even have a treadmill downstairs, just going downstairs to just walk, even while I'm watching something or listening to a podcast. So it's great to hear this from someone, because even as a person that coaches other people, hearing this and being coached yourself is so important. And I want to make note of that, to the listeners and to the watchers. Just because you are a personal trainer, a life coach, a movement specialist, if you're a whatever, I mean, there's so many different spheres. You do not have all the answers, and you understand how challenging it is. So having somebody coach you as well is important. I don't ever want people to misunderstand that I have all the answers and I have everything figured out and like I am an expert and I do all of this stuff myself. Nope. I still need people like you to say, let's break this down. Let's look at it from a different angle, because I'm the type, I'm like, well, I want to go run a 5K. I just had a baby and surgery, and like, you just got to honor where you are right now. So thank you for that. And that was, yeah, very, very insightful. I love that. So looking here, I love the fact that you brought up sleep, because it's super important. And again, from my perspective, my daughter is 16 months now. So we are just now starting to get in the place. Maybe it's been about 5 months where it's been pretty consistent. So now I actually have the energy when I wake up to want to do things. How does one navigate around not being able to sleep? I know we have a lot of students that are going to be listening in. I remember being up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, taking a class at 10. How do you navigate around not being able to sleep that much?
Oh, I have a perfect story actually to share that is
Please.
exactly about that. So I learned this from a student. I was asked one time in a class, I was teaching high school at the time, sports medicine, and a student asked, does the school give out a perfect attendance award at graduation? This was a student from she was about to graduate, and I said, I don't think so. So why do you ask? She said, well, because I've had perfect attendance since kindergarten. That pretty much shut down the entire class. Like, what? And so everybody wanted to know her secret. And she said, well, my mom, single mom, set up a bedtime ritual from when we were very young. So our ritual was that we would go into our bedroom, and our bedroom was just for sleep. Our bed wasn't used as a desk. It wasn't used for play. It wasn't used for anything other than sleep. So the ritual, having the bedroom just for sleep, or at least the bed just for sleep. Studying someplace, even if it's in the same room, not on the bed. Having the bed totally associated with sleep. Then they would go through, again, this bedtime routine, this ritual of brushing the teeth, getting in the jammies, saying prayers, getting in bed. That starts a cascade of hormones telling the body, okay, it's time to relax and turn off the activity portions of the brain and turn on those soothing, calming hormones. And this is the critical element with engaging in really high quality. So you've got the bedtime routine, the ritual, the bed is prioritized. She also said as she got older, a lot of students want to know, but what about homework? What about staying up and using electronics? She said our bedtime was set, and at a certain time, all the electronics in the house went off. There was not the option of pulling an all-nighter, because it's known that, the science says, and her mom was educated enough to say, hey, look, this is how we're going to do things. If you do things right throughout the day, you don't need the all-nighter. And so she ended up graduating high school with a 3.6, never stayed up past midnight to study. But she said, you know what? The unique thing about me versus many other students is I came to class every day wide awake. And I could then fully focus on what was being said and what was being taught. I didn't have to then go and relearn that at home. So I didn't have to study as much as maybe peers who were doing the head nod during class. And what she said changed my life, changed so many other students. And I share this story with every single class that I have, because it's those simple things that you read about that you kind of discard. Oh, a bedtime ritual. What does that do? It does a lot. Also, right now, getting those electronics, your body has to have a break. They say 45 minutes to an hour before you intend to fall asleep. The blue light, even if you have the filter on your phone, it still needs to go away. If you could activate that filter in the hours before, that's great. But as long as your eyes are looking at electronics, it's sending stimulating messages to the brain. Awake, awake, awake. When you're trying to cascade the body with sleepy time hormones, not wakey, wakey hormones.
And those are the official terms.
Yes, that is technical.
I love it. That was great. Very enlightening, of course. And I've heard about the electronics and I've heard about the rituals, but it's really fascinating to see it actually in place, because we think about, when you talk about the rituals and you talk about sleep, you think about, these really wealthy people, maybe entrepreneurs, who kind of have it all figured out, right? And they're very regimented in just their personality. So to hear it coming from a regular person and how it has impacted them, it brings it home a little bit more. It seems more attainable than to hear like a Steve Jobs say, yeah, you wake up at the same time, 4:00 in the morning, and make your bed, and, black coffee with like extra bitterness to make your, to get it stuck to your bones, and watch, 4 seconds of some kind of motivational video, and like all of these different things. And just like, that seems overwhelming. When you outline it this way with your chart, incremental steps. So maybe it's, instead of going cold turkey, no phone in the room, okay, well, I'm going to set up maybe a chair, do the phone there, then do the phone, in the living room. Then, I can make sure that it's off 45 minutes prior to sleep, and just setting up those little steps, so that it isn't so overwhelming. Because again, like you said, me right now, if you say no phone in the bedroom, I've been doing that for the past 10 years. It is part of my ritual to go to sleep. So to just cut that out, and that is something that I've battled with. I'm like, I don't even know where to start with something like that. So thank you for pointing that out too.
Well, and to go back to just to reiterate, this was a single mom with 2 young kids who established this right off the bat, working 2 jobs, but really wanted to establish this just really good foundation for her kids. And this student said, I don't think I've ever thrown up. I've never had anything more than the sniffles. So their health, their physical health was benefiting from just prioritizing sleep. I mean, wow.
That's huge. That's huge.
Just significant. It's significant.
Lynn, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time. I learned so much from this session that we have, and I really hope that our viewers and students that are watching this will be able to utilize this skill as well.
Thank you. You are awesome. Okay. I think you leave that in there. Okay. It's real.
We're starting.
Okay.
What are we going to be doing today?